And that's how we started. Back in September of 2020, and no one was in this building except our friends from iHelp. We were all scattered to the winds, and I asked you all to bring something from your front yard or your backyard, and they've been in my office, sitting on my desk ever since. There they are now. And that's why today is still a beautiful day in the VUU neighborhood. It's a beautiful day. It really is, because of who you are. I am Fred Wooden. I am your interim minister for 4 more days. And this is my last Sunday with you. So it's a time of completions, not just conclusions, but completions. Now, it might be hard, it was hard then to believe that we were at the beginning of something in September of 2020. Like I said, you were scattered. COVID was running our lives. Not only that, you were down a minister and an administrator. The grounds were ragged, the community everywhere but here. And almost 2 years later, we have a good staff, stronger. You have a new minister, exciting. The community has now found a way to be with itself in person as well as online. You've become a virtual and actual community. And in fact, the grounds look pretty good. And that's also hard to believe, but here we are, out there in the world beyond this fortunate community. This week has been hard for us as government has dealt serious blows to things that we thought could be honored forever. That's scary. It's frustrating. While it expanded the right to carry firearms in public so that we can now all be scared all the time, it has withdrawn the right for women to choose for themselves whether to be pregnant. Sometimes it feels more like 1972 than 2022. And yet, as I meant it 2 years ago when life in this church felt so perilous, I said it was a beautiful day, and I mean it then and I mean it now, because people like you, like us, are now more needed than ever. When the voices that would send us back 50 years are loud, those that insist on looking forward 50 years must be louder yet. This community and its commitment to freeing minds, growing souls, and changing the world has more purpose this week than it did last week. So ironically, though the world is worse, you are more important than ever, because your message, your heart, your soul, your hope, your faith has a greater import than it did before. You are not defeated. We are not defeated. We are needed in all the ways we can be together and all the ways we can be toward that future when everyone will be free. Wow. I think it's time to move on, don't you? Is it time for, let me look at my list of things I got to do here. We got to hear a prelude. And our other new friend, Yang Chen Baishu, is here today, and we're going to hear a Mazurka Brillante. Would you do that to help us reclaim our spiritual place as we head into this hour? Thank you.
And now, those of you at home, if you have a chalice, please draw it near, and let's say together the words by which we light our chalice. We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Good morning. I'm Katie Seifert. I'm your Director of Music Ministries, and it is such a joy to be with you this morning on this special morning, celebrating and honoring Reverend Fred and being with us for these last 2 years. Let's take a moment now to say good morning to our friends online, so whether that's on YouTube or on Zoom. There you are. You can give us a wave. Show us your faces if you're willing and able. So nice to see you. Hi, Mary. Hi, William. Hi, Barb. And now let's show our friends online all of their friends here in the sanctuary. Give them a nice hello back. Good morning. So nice to be together virtually and in person. Let's join together for our opening hymn, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In, stand in body or in spirit. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Hello. Hi, my name's Skylar Barnes. I'm the Faith Formation Assistant. Now's the time, if you have any kids at home, to bring them in front of the computers, and all of our kids in the sanctuary to come up front and sit down, get ready for our story. Now, as Fred mentioned, it's his last day today, which means it is also his last sermon with us. And on days like today, we can feel a lot of emotions. We can feel happy, sad, worried. And this book is just about that, how goodbyes can give us many different emotions. Goodbye, Friend, Hello, Friend, written and illustrated by Corey Dauerfeld. Every goodbye leads to a hello. Goodbye to sitting alone is hello to sitting together. Goodbye to outside is hello to inside. Goodbye to snowmen is hello to puddles. Goodbye to long walks, butterflies, and sun is hello to long talks, fireflies, and stars. Goodbye to an empty bowl is hello to a full heart. Goodbye to only watching is hello to joining. Goodbye to almost giving up is hello to one more try. Goodbye to superpowers is hello to sweet dreams. But sometimes, when you least expect it, a goodbye comes along that really feels like the end. Sometimes goodbye is the last thing that you want to say, like when goodbye to holding tight is hello to letting go. But no matter what, goodbye today is hello tomorrow. because every goodbye leads to a hello. Today we're saying goodbye to this friend and are looking forward to saying hello to this one. So now we're going to create a bridge of love for our kids to walk under. So if you'd stand up and reach your hands over the aisles.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up our world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
What a rousing rendition. Good morning and welcome to Valley Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I'm Melanie Clunan-Schulte. Whether you are in person, on Zoom, or on YouTube, whether you've been a member for years, are a new member, or are just visiting, you are welcome. If, like Reverend Wooden said of his father, you tend to sit in worship questioning everything, you're in the right place. That's okay. And if the service brings up things for you that you would like to process or talk to someone about afterward, a lay pastoral care associate will be available. In the sanctuary, that is Dan Schulte. He'll be up front here. There's Dan. And on Zoom, that is Joanne Smith. If you're visiting us for the first time or even the second, please introduce yourself in the chat feature if you're on Zoom. And if you're here in the sanctuary, would you have the courage to stand now so that we can greet you? We typically have a welcome circle after the service, but today we're actually having a special reception, and I hope that everyone will stay for that because it's a bittersweet day. As you've already heard, today is our last Sunday with the Reverend Dr. Fred Wooden as our interim minister. And while we look forward to our future and our new settled minister, I'm not sure any of us want to say goodbye to Reverend Fred. And yes, I'm going to have to use that as an honorific because it has the right combination of respect and intimacy called for today. We've learned quite a few things about Reverend Fred in the just under 2 years that we've spent with him. We've learned that he is a world traveler and likes to go on pilgrimages, and that his favorite mode of transportation on these pilgrimages is walking. That he is a devoted husband and father and now grandfather and takes those roles seriously. We know that his mother was a grammarian. I remember that one particularly because I am too. And when he talked about that he still hears her voice in his head correcting grammar, I thought, I hope when my children are his age, they still hear my voice telling them there is no S on anyway, no matter how many people you hear say anyways. We know that May is a difficult month for him, and that one of his heroes is another Fred Rogers. We know that despite being so accomplished a thinker, writer, speaker, musician, parent, and minister, he laments his lack of gender stereotypical skills. Of course, it seems to me there's nothing more manly than being a true Renaissance man. But the things we've learned about Reverend Fred are dwarfed by the things that we've learned from him. He taught us about the secret life of ministers, reminded us that they are people too, and called on us to remember the personal cost of doing ministry work, of being always trustworthy and always working whenever visible to the public. He elevated the offering words to an art form and convinced us that giving is not a duty, but rather a privilege. He wove history, linguistics, and biblical scholarship into sermons with such a folksy and conversational style that it was easy to miss that we were learning about all these things. He reminded us to be open to the people we meet in life in their entirety and look for points of shared experience, what he called the places you've been together, that they're always there. He gave us what, for my money, is the best last line of a sermon ever. It is a good life, even though the sadness is sometimes nearly unbearable. Our sadness today is bearable. It's bearable because we know the future of VUU is bright and that Fred Wooden deserves a break and is getting one. I hope he'll send us postcards from his future travels. I hope he'll be a guest in our pulpit in the future. I hope our paths will cross again. I hope these things, but they're not certain. What is certain is the indelible mark he's left on us. We know that memory is affected by depth of emotion. Reverend Fred came to us at a time of high emotion because of the pandemic and because of losing multiple staff members, including our settled minister, in such a short span of time. And because of that, it seems to me that in spite of his brief time with us, he is as important a part of the history of VUU as our settled ministers, and his time here will not be forgotten.
You know, if you keep talking about me like that, I'm going to think I'm dead and this is a wake. All right. I'm supposed to be good at this part, right? All right, okay. At this point, I can't live up to what she said I am. It's just impossible. However, I've got a bargain for you today. I'm cleaning out my apartment. And it's a furnished apartment, so I can leave the furniture, and I'm working on the cleaning, but I got too much. So I'm going to make you a deal today. Unopened Napolitana roasted garlic sauce. What is this worth to you? Do I have a bid on my garlic sauce? Come on. I'm looking for a bid here. I'm not fooling. Is this a $10 jar of sauce? $10. Okay. All right. I got plenty here. Wait for it. Okay, Carl? Good for you, Dave. You set it off. Now, Zataran's red beans and rice. They're very spicy. Rice. Is there a $5, $10 bid on this box of rice somewhere? All right. That's yours. Come and get it. But you have to put it in the plate when we're ready, Bert. All right. All right. I'm not going to do this for everything, but just to get you started. Indian Madras lentils. They are in little packets. There are 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a minute, and it's fantastic. All right, I see something over there. That would be Janice, right? All right, you can come and get it, but you got to put the money in the plate. As you can see behind me, I'll let you know I've got some black beans, some leftover quinoa, maybe a couple of servings. I've got some sandwich rounds. That's like half the calories of a piece of bread, and it's really good. I've got most of a jar of virgin olive oil. I mean, from Costco, so it's not fake virgin, but real virgin. Just ask the folks at Consumer Reports. Anyone love Cholula hot sauce? It's terrific, okay? Also over here, some balsamic vinegar, okay? Now, some of these aren't full because I used some of them, but I sterilized everything magically this morning. My point here is not simply to be silly, but to remind you that you're not giving away, you're receiving. And the reality is that every time you contribute to this congregation, you are receiving something nourishing, whether of body or of heart or of mind. So when the plate comes by, put something in it. And please get rid of this food. Okay? So while the plates go by and Ms. Young is playing, put money in the plate and come get rid of the food. Okay? If you want to arm wrestle for the rest of it, that's up to you. Dave, you already bought that. Carl, which one do you want? You're eager. All right, so I'm inviting you all to put money in the plate, then come up here and clean me out, okay? Because you deserve to be nourished. And what? Yeah, but you're not going to see me. All right? My own food, I have enough food at home, Linda, don't worry. Jeez. No, you don't. I won't be there until Tuesday, okay? And that's a good point. Let me make that point now. When we first came, Wendy and me, the Hortons offered us a place to stay. And for a few days we were there, and they gave us a kind of a doorway into the warm experience of Arizona. And so as I close up my apartment the next day or so, I'm going to retreat back to them for a couple of days, because their generosity is just like your generosity. It is always to be dependent on, and ever to be cherished. So all of your generosity is on deck right now. Come get my food, leave the money, and let's get fed, okay? Your morning offering, are you all ready, you ushers? Where are the ushers? You all set? Okay, make it happen. Ms. Yan, play music. I guarantee the vegetable broth is not that precious. Okay, so, excuse me? Does vegetable broth ever expire? Come on.
We can put it in the compost, right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
vegetable?
right, Carpenens. Go
Yeah.
pour this on the compost, okay?
It'll feed our garden. The doctor says those expiration dates are a suggestion. Yes. Best Buy, okay. Now is our time of centering. Over here. And this is our moment in our service where we take just a moment to center ourselves, to connect to something greater, beyond ourselves and within ourselves. And we're going to sing our beloved hymn, Spirit of Life. As we sing this hymn, you are welcome to partake in some ceremonies around the sanctuary. You can light a candle to signify any joy and sorrows in your life. You can place a rock or a stone. And there's also a book, I'm told, in the back where you can write your joys and concerns. So I invite you to do so and to allow the music to center yourselves in a space of gratitude. There's so much to be thankful for today, especially. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
A prayerful moment, which is often hard for us to fill since the words vary so much from person to person. For some, being able to speak of God is very important. For others, it's an impediment. But that's part of the challenge of prayer, is to find that place both of ease and resistance, because we need both. But I'm going to help you out this morning. Most prayers are not words. Walt Whitman said his prayers were groans. And I think there's some truth there. There's also the prayer of gratitude, which usually goes, hooray. Then sometimes there's the prayer that goes, help. And sometimes we need to say a prayer that says, oops. But the most profound prayer is the one I just witnessed. Because in this community where we have rituals that allow people to light a candle from time to time, it is not the lighting of the candle that is the prayer. It is when one person hands the flame to the next person so they can light their candle. We pass the hope to one another. We give the prayer to the next person. We receive the light and we give the light. Without a word, without a thought, we pass it along. I'll come back to that, I think, a little later. But I want you to pray on that. That every time you hand the light to someone else, you are saying the prayer most needful of being said. And when you receive that light, your prayer should be, who needs it next? With that thought in mind, I'm going to now try to pronounce the name of the next piece of music and its composer. Because in pronouncing that name here and that composer and thanking the performer, we will have been in one sentence in Europe, Asia, and North America. The music is called La Prière d'une Vierge, the Maiden's Prayer. It is composed by Tekla Badarzewska-Baranovsk. And it's being provided to us through the wonderful talents of young Chenpai Shu. Wow. The music's got to be great. Now, I want to call your attention to the framed artwork under the screen over there. For those who are on Zoom or YouTube, to my left, underneath the screen, is a framed piece of it's collage art created by one of our members, Janice Pitsley, I believe, who comes to us virtually for a variety of reasons. So whenever I see that, I think of her, and I think of all the people that are present virtually, but not actually. And Janice's piece here has been around for a while. You had note cards printed up with that. It's a wonderful piece, by the way. And the design behind me on the dais was also her conception. Now, why am I telling you this? Because, thank you, Melanie, we all leave something behind. Sometimes it's more visible. Sometimes it is felt. So here I am at the end of my tenure, and I don't have a sweeping sermon. In fact, I'm reminded of when Wendy and I would leave my mother up in Vermont, and we would have been there with our kids for 3-4 days. And like so many grandparents, she was understanding that we had to go, but kind of drew it out as long as possible, you know. And so we'd make our way to the door, and then out the door, and then and talk and things. And it was almost, it became kind of a joke with Wendy and me that as we're going out the door, she'd rush up to the car and say, "Here, please, take this rock." Just anything to hold on to the connection. I'm going to give you my rocks today, literally and figuratively. The leftovers that I want you to have. They don't make a sermon. They're just, think of it as what was left in my cupboard here, but the part that comes out of my head. There are at least 3 projects I want you to not let go of. The audiovisual project that we've been working on, it's expensive. You've made a commitment. Don't screw it up. Which is to say, as many of you as can, I want you to make a dedicated contribution to that. And that applies to you Zoom folks especially, because when we're done, it will be even better for you than it is now. Best of all, it will adapt with you into your future as you reconfigure this sanctuary, and you will have a system that will reach everyone, everywhere, in every way. It's your evangelical opportunity. It really is. Do not let that go. And remember, I made a promise to pitch in, but you've got to go every bit of the way but a little bit. I'm not starting this show, I'm ending it. More sober, but still equally important. You need an emergency and security plan. Not because of bad people, but they do exist, but because you need to protect yourselves and others. The Adobe community that's there Monday through Friday. I help when it's here once or twice a week, 1 in 10. All sorts of good people are here, and you need to put a good security system in place and training for ushers and others so that you can take care of each other and those who come to you in a state of need. Do that. Don't wait on it. That's the kind of thing that when you're an individual and you have the automobile accident and said, I should have gotten that collision insurance. Don't let that happen. Third, this is personal. Well, it's kind of personal. You see that rogues gallery in the back of your sanctuary there? That's all your clergy people? I just got added. I'm around the corner, so it's hard to see me, but that's okay. No. Shh. None of us should be in your sanctuary. Why? Because it's the place that you belong, not we. Now, you might want to put us in a hallway somewhere or a boardroom where we can look down soberly on your proceedings. But when you make that change to a new sanctuary, find all of us a new home. A place where you can realize when you walk in here, they're not looking at you, you're looking at each other. It is your house. It is your space. It should look like you. Put your own pictures in here. Really. Let people know who you are. I've been in congregations where new members have photographs up, and that really helps to know the new ones from the not new ones, because it's always someone who's a greeter who comes up and say, "Oh, are you new here?" And they say, "No, I've been here for 20 years. And here's the way you deal with that. "Hi, we haven't met." It's really easy. But put up pictures of yourselves. I got so much joy looking at all those pictures of you from almost 2 years ago. Can you imagine when new people come in and they see pictures of you being happy? Doesn't that send the message you want people to have? Not former ministers, but present members. We are not the ones that matter. You are. Okay, so you have those 3 projects. Promise me you'll think about them. I told Janice Miller about the Rogues Gallery, and she said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Well, think about it." I'm out of here, but seriously, people, seriously. The other stuff, really serious. Do it, okay? Don't make Sarah have to chase you around to get that done, okay? She should not enter here with a full inbox of stuff that I didn't do. Finish that off, okay? All right, we're done with the official stuff. I still have a few minutes. Now, I'm working on a project, and you can help me out. I'm going to start doing monthly stuff for a little congregation in Michigan, so I only have to drive to and forth and back once a month. Easy duty. And believe me, my wife will appreciate that. But I'm forming an idea about what I can talk to them about, and you can help me. Not today, but I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking about. I think there are 5 really important questions every UU congregation should be thinking about. I don't have the answers, but I want you to think about them. What is a building for? A lot of congregations, the first thing they do is, "We got to have a building. I want to build a building." And I've met many of them that got part of their building built, or they got a building built and then couldn't afford a minister. And I'm thinking, what is so powerful about a building? I want you to think about that, because one of the most powerful movements that ever was formed doesn't own real estate. Alcoholics Anonymous. In fact, it's against their rules to own buildings because they are so focused on their ministry. I'm not saying you should give up your building, but I'm saying, is your mission to own a building? You have one. But think about how this building expresses your mission, serves your ministry, empowers you to be a congregation. And make sure that you're committed to that, whatever the shape of your structure is. So think about your buildings. You know, a lot of congregations have pictures of their buildings on their website. Great. If you go to all those big evangelical churches, mostly they don't. They show you pictures of the people. You know that old thing? Here's the church, here's the steeple. Open the doors and there's all the people. Well, make sure your doors are open and people see the people, not the doors. What about us clergy? Well, I use the term clergy, and you've heard me use this many times, because I believe the word minister is too murky. My opinion, ministry is what we do in our personal lives, in our collective lives, because ministry means to serve. Winston Churchill, who was a man of, shall we say, complicated blessings, did observe that we make a living by what we earn, we make a life by what we give. Ministry is the giving we undertake in our lives. And ministry is what you do. If your clergy person was the only minister, that lets you off the hook. We have a minister. All I have to do is show up, put money in the plate, and try not to fall asleep. No. Our job is to make you do the ministry. Inspire, annoy, needle, instruct, embody, and model. The ministry is yours, and each of you are ministers. And whether you know it or not, you're doing it. You have one of your greatest gifts here is your lay pastoral care associates. And that doesn't mean they're better than anything else, but you're really good at that. They're so good at it that we have another group called the Caring Neighbors, and now that's really one giant ministry of one to another. It is the biggest gift you gave me here, that I don't have to keep track of all of you. You take care of each other. That is a great gift, and what's more, that strengthens the giver and the receiver. Think about the ministry as who you are and what you do, not what I do. So let's now talk about membership. Well, if I just talked about ministry, what matters in a congregation is not whether you sign the book, but whether you do the work. In other words, if someone came here every Sunday faithfully, put money in the plate and served, but never signed the book, do they belong? Absolutely. So belonging is what matters, not whether they registered to vote. And I don't deprecate that. I say register to vote. Why should you join a church? So you can cast a ballot about the congregation's decisions. Who shall be its president? Who will be its leadership? How much should you spend? Absolutely. But everyone who is part of your ministry is in fact a member of this community. And we should think of that as being the community. When I served in Austin, Texas, very briefly for 4 years, I didn't know very much then, so I didn't get it right. We had 100 people join every year. Well, it's Texas. All you have to do is, one evangelical crusade will shake loose 200 Unitarians. And we were the only show in town, so there we were. However, the rules said in order to be a member, you have to make a contribution. It was like $300, $400. Now, that's fine, because that's how we were calculating dues and all that stuff. And that's a legitimate way to do business, by the way. I belong to a synagogue, and they send me a bill, and I pay my bill. It's fine. The problem was they began to think that the only people in that congregation were those who paid the $300. And I'm looking at $350 every Sunday in 2 different services. It distorts your sense of who you are. You are the whole community, whether they've signed the book or not. And that includes every child, every alumnus and alumna that still cares about you but might live elsewhere, every visitor, every part-time member, what they used to call in the Christian church C&E Christians. You know that term? There you go. They count. That person who never comes and sends a check every year is part of your ministry. It is not about who signs the book, but who does the work. And include them all. In some ways, Adobe is part of your congregation. I help belong here. They spend as much time in this building as you do. You are much larger than you know. And your ministry goes further than you realize. I'll come back to that. Okay. Why do we do this on Sunday? Because we do. You realize that that's a choice. When I thought I would start a ministers' union, I was going to think about, well, what we need to do is lobby for a 10-day week. Because this coming up with something every 7 days gets really difficult. In the Baha'i community, if you know the Baha'i community, they get together every 19 days. Go ask. You can worship any time you want. Sunday is just a habit. It's a great habit, enjoy it. But you're not bound to it. Find the rhythm of your worship life. Finally, I come from deep Mormon roots. My thrice great-grandfather knew Joseph Smith. He was served in the Mormon battalion that worked in the Mexican War. I know a little bit about our LDS friends, some of whom are here. We have a handful of foremans, as I call them. And they are an immense blessing. And one of the reasons is because in that culture, they send all of their young adults on a mission. I wonder what our faith would look like if every one of us gave 2 years to Unitarian Universalism as a mission. Whether it be with the service committee, whether it would be in Transylvania, whether it would be teaching in Sunday school. It was a conscious duty that we all obliged ourselves with. I'm all for national service, by the way. I think we do owe our country our time as well as our taxes. And I think that builds ownership and understanding. You really ought to think about how serious your belonging is and whether you're willing over the course of your lifetime to do more than Sunday and call it truly a personal spiritual commitment. So those are the 5 things to think about. Buildings. Do they express your mission or are they your mission? Ministers. Am I that person or are you those people? Membership. Those who sign the book or those who do the work. Worship. Sunday or any day. And mission. Are you willing to take on one of your own? Just think about those things. Now, most of you know an honest fact, but I'm going to remind you of it. Churches, congregations, I'll use the word church because it covers a lot of waterfront, are icebergs. Most of it is below the waterline. This is the part everyone sees. 90% of it is out of sight. And that's the part that if you take care of it, will maintain this part here. And I'm going to give you 3 pieces of advice I have used personally my entire life. And since I'm not dead, and I haven't been fired, they might just work. In my Brooklyn church, there was a visitor who came to us regularly every few months. She belonged to the Community Church of New York. She was the granddaughter of Louis Latimer. Anyone know who Louis Latimer is? He was the laboratory assistant to Thomas Alva Edison. And Louis Latimer was black, which is why you don't know his name. He is also the founder of the Unitarian Society of Flushing, New York. So guess what? We invented the light bulb. But Louis Latimer inculcated in his family a commitment to Unitarianism. This is before the merger. And his granddaughter was Winifred Norman, who was already in her 80s when I arrived in the Brooklyn church in the 1990s, and she would come over to worship with us from time to time. The whole city was her church. Now, Winifred Norman was maybe 5 foot tall with heels on a good day. But whenever she showed up, she stood straight, she wore a hat and gloves, and she was decked out. And at one point I went to her and said, "Winnie, I'm so glad to see you. And so wonderful that you still dressed for church." And then she told me something I never forgot. She said, when I was growing up, even in our church, but then also the neighbors around us, meaning black neighbors, during the week we had to wear maid's uniforms and work clothes, no matter what we thought of ourselves. So on Sunday, we could be the people we deserved to be. And the ironies among Unitarian Universalists, I hate wearing this suit. I want to be my real self. And tell me, who is bringing their better self to church? The person who dresses down because their work encumbers them, or the person who dresses up because their church ennobles them? Now, I'm not saying you have to get dressed. I'm not pointing at David Shea and his suspenders here. I'm not taking credit for wearing my coat and tie in a hot room on a Sunday in Arizona. No, I am not taking credit. The point is to bring your best self to church. This is not the place to go slumming, to slack, to let go, to relax. I don't have to think about what I say. I don't have to think about who I'm talking to. I can just be in front of my virtual TV with my friends. This is where you need to be your best self on your best behavior, because that's what we expect of each other in this church. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to chide you for it, but if you don't have that expectation, anything goes. And they say, well, I can believe anything I want. So you can believe anything you want, but you cannot say anything you want or do anything you want or act any way you want. We are children of God, to borrow that phrase. And if you want to act like some ragamuffin, take that someplace else. Am I right? Am I right, Beverly? Am I right? Thank you. Can I get an amen to that? Absolutely. So, and I'm not kidding. That doesn't mean you have to be inauthentic. I want you to be your authentically best selves. I'm not saying dress up. Bring your best self to church. Be the person you aspire to be, not the one you have to be. And that means the way you talk and the way you act. I have loved you because you are worthy of my love. And because I believe I have a duty to love you at your very best. Next story. Long ago, my mother-in-law gave me every year we got, for a long time, we got a card in the mail that says, Mrs. Roger Raymond Ricker gives Mrs. Weldon Frederick Wooden a subscription to Reader's Digest. And my father-in-law and I were looking around at each other and said, I don't remember me being involved in this. Because, of course, in those days, women's married name were always the husband's name. It's very strange. But we got the Reader's Digest, thanks to my mother-in-law, for many years. And they have those little quippy things, word for the day thing, and proverb. And one of them stuck with me forever. It is an Arabic Islamic proverb that says, in every mouth are 3 tiny angels, and they ask 3 separate questions of every word that comes out of your mouth. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? Now, that comes in different forms, but I internalize that as saying, I am obliged to think before I talk, speak only the truth, only when necessary, and never to harm. Now, I screw that up a lot, but I hold myself accountable to that. And I want you to hold yourselves accountable to that too, because the gods know that people in charge of our government are not paying attention to those little angels. And you cannot look at them in the eye if you're not doing this yourself. This goes back to bringing your best self, by the way. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? And if it ain't, don't say it. What did Mark Twain say? It is better to remain silent and have people to think you a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. I guess I'm saying, bring your best self, but bring that self with humility. It's not about how good you are compared to others. Are you being good for yourself? And finally, in this, I was thanked for this today. And it was a great gift. Maybe you know Maya Angelou said they may not, people will forget what you said and what you did, but they'll never forget how they made you feel. I felt loved by you. And I feel like I love you too. And that I want you to keep. Now, Sarah will love you a lot longer, with a lot more fun, and a lot more energy than I can. But Uncle Fred, old Uncle Fred, wants you to know that you are worthy of love at every turn. And if you remember that, you will bring your best self. If you remember that, you will remember those angels. And that will secure the rest of that iceberg under the water, which when it's solid like that, the rest of it will shine in a way that will make people want to be with you. So people say, just love each other. Love is hard, people. Some days you love people even when you don't want to. Some days you love people because you don't want to. That's called spiritual discipline. There are plenty of words I could have said, but I didn't. Because they were true, but they weren't kind. And I loved you too much to risk that love for a moment of vindication. I'm running out of things to share with you. I got to go, but hey, take this rock. And in fact, that's what I'm going to do. In a moment, you're going to hear hymn number 1. It's number 1 for a reason. I told the choir on Wednesday when we were making the hymn book back in 1988, 89, 1991. I was on that group. We saw this text and realized that it was a text that was itself a benediction. In fact, the title of the poem, not the title of the hymn, is A Prayer for This House. That book is in some ways the house. And because of that, it is a blessing. And I'll repeat the words, some of them at the end. But while and now I'm going to get the choir. You can start moving up here, okay, guys? Come on, get up here. Be quiet about it. I'm still talking, okay? But as they come up here, they're going to help you learn how to sing it. They're going to go through it by humming first. But while they're doing that, and while you're singing, I've got some stones up here that I can't take with me. When you gave them to me, you were giving me the trust in me to minister to you and for you. It is time for me to hand them back. I want you to hold on to them because Sarah's going to need that trust when she gets here. But it's not mine any longer.
Please stand and join us, stand in body or in spirit, singing this beloved hymn.
Truly, peace shall walk softly through these rooms, touching your lips with holy wine, till every casual corner blooms into a shrine. That is your task. Go and do it. And thank you for letting me be with you along the way. Melanie, is it your show? Is it your show now?
Real quick,
Okay.
on behalf of the congregation and the choir especially, Fred, we want to say we love you too.
Thank you.
And we thank you so much. And we made this card for you.
Okay.
I know you don't like surprises, but this is a card.
Wow. Thank you so much. Actually, Melanie, you're supposed to help extinguish the chalice, so while the choir goes that way, Melanie will come here, because we're not done worshiping until we put out the light.
Right. We want you to open your card. Trisha Amato created this.
We're not going to extinguish the chalice yet. We're going to call Mary Will Francis up.
Oh, dear.
You can have the hymn back. Thank you. The card looks cool.
Yeah, it is very.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mary Will Francis. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees here at VUU. And obviously, we couldn't let this day go by without saying some words about Fred and really acknowledging his time with us. You ready? Yeah. Okay. 2 years ago, we welcomed Fred to our congregation as an interim minister at a time of great uncertainty, and that's an understatement. For those who weren't here or don't remember, let me recap our situation. Andy Burnett, our beloved minister, had resigned. Our longtime administrator, Sue Ringler, retired, and soon after passed away from cancer. And our music minister, Kelly, also retired after decades of service to our congregation. On top of this, COVID put to a halt the opportunity to gather in person, and our tech team struggled to bring our services to life online. Our capital campaign, years in the making, was forced to revisit our original vision of a new sanctuary and the use of the funds pledged for this goal. Our campus was neglected, our mission was in peril, and our congregants were in desperate need of solace and support when we all needed it the most, and Fred met the challenge. Under his leadership, he introduced us to the guide for moving forwards in times of uncertainty, a book titled How to Lead When You Don't Know Where You're Going, Leading in a Liminal Season, written by Susan Beaumont. You may recall Fred's sermons at the beginning of his tenure on the topic of liminality, which is defined in the book as, quote, a disorienting period of non-structure or anti-structure that opens new possibilities no longer based on an old status or power hierarchies. New identities are explored and possibilities considered, end quote. Walking leadership committees and the Board of Trustees through the chapters during several gatherings to explore what this concept meant for us, we explored who we were and where we wanted to go. This provided the Board of Trustees and the search committee, as well as staff, with clarity and purpose to ensure our future was secure and inclusive as we moved through this liminal season. First, we acknowledged that we were, quote, neither here nor there, according to chapters 1 and 2. Not something our congregation is used to, for sure. We needed to embrace our liminal experience while we readied ourselves for a new beginning. To this end, Fred provided solid leadership that allowed us to, quote, rest in peace, with no fear of falling apart. Then he, quote, tended to our soul, unquote, encouraging us to take a discerning approach rather than a deciding approach, which means asking more questions than demanding more answers. Fred looked to the lay leaders of our congregation to frame the issues at hand, engage all stakeholders, and identify ideas grounded in our beliefs. Finally, we've come to a clarifying purpose that led the search committee and the board of trustees, as well as faith formation, the music program, and lay leaders, to feel confident that we have come through this tunnel of uncertainty and now offer a strong, purposeful congregation to our next settled minister, Sarah Oglesby Dunnigan. Fred, we've basked in your sermons, drawn from your vast travels, theological studies, and family experiences, and walked with you through your personal ups and downs. And may I say, I have been a Catholic, I've been a Methodist, but I have never seen a priest or a minister beg for money like you do. We have welcomed your ministry openly and enthusiastically over the past 2 years and have come out better people and a better congregation for your service. Thank you for leading us through our liminal season. We wish you all the best in your journey into the future.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Okay, still not done.
There is swag.
Okay, so we have a couple of gifts for you. The first one is, this is a book about the original inhabitants of the area. May it bring back fond memories of the time spent here, including your trip to the Herb Museum, where you enjoyed the exhibit by the same name, Native Peoples of the Southwest. And it's signed by the author.
Ooh, excellent, thank you. You're welcome. Fantastic.
Make sure. And you are now an honorary citizen of the state of Arizona, as the bolo tie is the official network of the state. Nice, huh? Whew, okay. So again, I'd like to, you can have that. Just put all that in there.
Everything's going this way and that.
Okay, so a couple more things. I want to again invite you to the reception following the service. And I have to make one explanation. Linda is going to play a song to see us all out that was Fred's suggestion, not ours. Hit the road, Jack. All right, I think we're good.
You can leave your stuff.
Thank you.
May I keep your remarks?
Of course.
Go ahead, Linda. Turn off.
Now we're going to extinguish the chalice. All right, let's say the words together. Though we extinguish the chalice, our connection to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world with compassion until we meet again.